Hello YouTube, it's Ian here with Hobbies of Man once again, and today we're doing another monthly wrap-up. Today we're going to be doing all of the stuff that I watched and read in the month of March here, which was quite a bit actually, because I had a spring break during March. I had the week of the 14th off, so I had a long time to read and watch television that I wouldn't normally have during the year or during the month, and so I definitely ended up watching a lot more stuff than usual. But I definitely think I read about the same, because manga reading is actually really easy to do, so I can sneak it in pretty quickly and pretty easily across, my day. So let's look at what I watched first, and if you don't want to watch that, feel free to skip to the manga section where I talk about everything I read, so feel free to do that. And yeah, let's start with what I watched. So first thing I watched this month was Mandalorian Season 2. I had just finished watching Mandalorian Season 1 after watching Book of Boba Fett last month, and I wanted to continue, and I love Season 2 so much. It definitely feels slightly different from the first season. The first season is very much setting up the story, and this season is more or less developing the story, but also developing all of the secondary characters that are going to have their own spin-off shows. Of course, Boba Fett already got his. We're going to have an Ahsoka one. Maybe we'll have a Luke Skywalker one. I was about to say Anakin, but a Luke Skywalker show would be pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie, it would be pretty awesome. Maybe we could do it like old man Luke is remembering stuff from when he was young, and then that way you could have like a like actual Mark Hamill and then like CGI Mark Hamill. But that would be very similar to Book of Boba Fett, so maybe that is something they want to stay away from, since Book of Boba Fett wasn't really as well received as The Mandalorian. But I don't know, I think it would be really interesting to see that. And maybe a Bo-Katan show, which is like Mandalorian 3.5, maybe? If Book of Boba Fett was 2.5, Bo-Katan's show could be a Mandalorian series that is the following up to Mandalorian Season 3. I'm not sure, but I'm really liking this, and I think the Mandalorians are really great because they can function like medieval knight societies in space, and so that would be very, very cool because you're going to have like Game of Thrones in space, which is, I guess, just Dune, but like more. I don't know. I think it would be very interesting to do that. And then I watched a movie. I went to go watch Batman, or The Batman, with my roommates, and it was pretty good. I actually really enjoyed it. I think my roommates didn't like it as much because they said that the Riddler was a pretty simple villain, and I guess this is true, but I think this is stemming from the fact that most of the time superhero movies have very outlandish, crazy villains, and having such a grounded, more or less Zodiac killer type villain in a superhero movie was kind of weird. But I personally thought it was really good. I really enjoyed this kind of cop rat and mouse game that they were playing, and the Riddler seemed to be slightly smarter than Batman in this case, or had a little bit more experience than Batman, and I liked that. I thought it was really good, and I really loved Zoe Kravitz, his take on Selena Kyle, and Robert Pattinson blew it out of the water with Batman. I really liked them quite a bit. I thought the movie was great. I really enjoyed it a lot. Then I went home for the spring break, and I watched a lot of Last Kingdom. I watched Last Kingdom Season 5, which was awesome. I loved the ending. I thought it was really good because it managed to finish up the story really strongly and not be very disappointing, but also left it open enough that if they wanted to finish up the rest of the books via the movie that it's been, heard of in the kind of Last Kingdom fandom, they could definitely do that as well, and it won't feel kind of weird to just have like an extra movie to finish off the series when the story more or less feels concluded. So I think they did a great job with it. I really liked it. I think Uhtred finally getting to Bebbanburg was really cool. I liked that a lot. Then I have been watching a few episodes of Clone Wars here and there. I haven't really gotten very far. I've only seen like 6 episodes of Clone Wars Season 5. I kind of slowed down on the Clone Wars thing because I had so much other stuff to watch with my family. But Clone Wars is great. I love it so much. It's very fun. Then I watched Dune. I helped my dad set up this new sound system and his new television in our media room at home. And my dad wanted to test it out, and he was like, what is the coolest, most badass movie we have? And he thought it was Dune, so we watched the new Dune movie at home, and I really enjoyed it. It was great. It was such a fun watch the second time around, although I think it was a little bit more boring than the first time because I already knew what was going on. But the world building is amazing, the visuals are amazing, the sound design is great, everything about the movie is great. I think it was just like, this movie definitely feels like a lot more setup than like action set pieces that you're used to from a sci-fi movie. And on one hand, I like that. On the other hand, I think it is slightly less digestible than something like Star Wars, which like has a lot of rewatchability because it is so like action heavy all the time. But Dune is great. I will definitely watch it again a few more times whenever the mood strikes, right? So yeah, in terms of everything else, I watched Vikings Valhalla season 1. This is a continuation, spin-off, not really kind of a story from the Vikings TV show, you know, the one about Ragnar Lothbrok and Lagertha and Rollo and stuff like that. And it's kind of confusing because the beginning of the story sets you 100 years after the end of Ragnar Lothbrok. But at the end of the last season of Vikings, Eric the Red was a character that was there when Bjorn Ironside died, right? So if it's 100 years later, how is his son in this time period, right? And of course, this is due to the fact that these two things are connected, but they're actually separate entities. Like, the starting point for Vikings Valhalla is the historical starting point, not the end of Vikings, the TV show. So it kind of makes it a little bit confusing, but I think that once you get over that, it's easy to understand. You know, at one point, you know, Ragnar and Bjorn Ironside existed. They have died a long time ago, and now Eric the Red's son, Leif Erikson, is the new main character of the story. So there you go. That's how that works. And there is some connectivity to the original Viking series, but it gets confusing, so just ignore it and just kind of treat it as its own thing. But you also have knowledge of the characters that they're referencing. So there you go. That's how you look at that. But it was really good. I really enjoyed it. Then I watched some movies here at home or in my apartment. I watched Pirates of the Caribbean 2 and 3. And man, those movies are awesome. I love Davy Jones so much. I think the CGI on him looks amazing even now. It's really, really well done. And I really love the story a lot. The music is great. Jack Sparrow is an insane person, but he's very fun. The characters are all ridiculous, but great. I really enjoy it. It's just overall, I love the movies so much. They're also very nostalgic for me. I remember watching the third one on Stranger Tides, right? That's what the third one's called. In movie theaters in Mexico. It was awesome. I loved it so much. It was very, very cool. So yeah, and then the last thing I watched this month was, well, the movie, the Jujutsu Kaisen Zero movie, which was awesome. I really enjoyed it. I think there was a few general plotline issues with the story, but overall it was really good. I really enjoyed it, and I think it's a very good movie introduction to the JJK series, which is really useful because a lot of these long-running shonen are not that easy to get into, especially, you know, once they get past the 15-volume mark. It's like, oh, there's so much stuff here. I'm not sure that I want to get into it, right? But it had a lot of good stuff, and it made me curious about what comes next. So overall, I think it was very well done. Yeah, and last night, I watched Moon Knight, which was awesome. I really liked it. So that was the last thing I watched this month. And I'll probably have a video out for it sometime this weekend. But Moon Knight episode 1 was awesome. Very well done. I really think Oscar Isaac knocked it out of the park. He did a very good job with the acting. So very good stuff there as well. So yeah, that's all I've watched. Now let's talk about all of the stuff that I've been reading. So like I said, I read quite a bit of stuff, but maybe it feels like less than usual. I don't know. It depends. But yeah. So, okay. So let's start with this reading log section here. So the first thing I read was Solo Leveling. So I read Solo Leveling 1 and 2 at the very beginning of the month. And then near the end of the month, I read Solo Leveling Volume 3. But overall, very good stuff. All of this covers basically the first volume of the light novel, which kind of seems ridiculous. In terms of content, you're only getting one volume's worth of the story, which is $15, for what equates to $60 of content. So I think, like I always say, the light novel is the better bang for your buck. However, I think the reading experience for the comic book might be more satisfying to a lot more people, and so I understand why some people would be okay with this. Plus, it's in color, it's very interesting, it's very well done. But I think both of them are very good. However, I definitely recommend that you wait for sales and or, you know, buy it at like Walmart or Target, where they're about $16 usually. They're like 20 to 30% off, which is a little bit more accessible than $20 per volume of this series. But of course, I'm buying both because I am able to. Thankfully, I'm very lucky that way. And so I'm buying both, and I'm really enjoying both reading styles of the series. I just think that, you know, if you're looking for the most economic way to read it legally and, you know, with owning it physically, the light novel is the best way to go. But yeah, Solo Leveling is great. It's about this guy who happens to live in a world where people have reawakenings and they become superhuman. And he happens to be one of these people, but he has only managed to become relatively superhuman. He is the weakest hunter, the weakest superhuman person in this world, because he is the lowest ranked ever. And within the lowest rank, he is also the lowest of the low. And what happens is that he joins an expedition into a dungeon, these portals that appear around the world that they have to go into. And during one of these, they encounter a secondary dungeon within the first dungeon, which then leads to this very weird thing that allows him to reawaken again, and now he has gained the power to level up, which is the only, and he's the only person that manages to do this. So that's why it's called solo leveling, because he is the only person that can level up. I think the other name for this story is only I can level up, so I think that's a little bit more descriptive and clear, but solo leveling has a much nicer ring to it. So there you go. This is what the covers look like. Again, very cool stuff. And yeah, really love this story. I think it's very great. So yeah, that's it for solo leveling. Let me see if I can just reach over there. There you go. That way it won't fall on top of my other books. Then I read Isaac. I already did a first impressions review on this, but Isaac is a Japanese manga. This is actually published by Spain though, so it's in Spanish. And it's about this Japanese mercenary that goes to Europe during the 30 Years' War and joins up with the German Empire people, the Holy Roman Empire, as they're fighting against the Catholic Spaniards. And the point is that he's searching for this other Japanese mercenary guy who killed his master and stole something from him, and he needs to go find him in order to regain his master's own honor, but also in order to achieve like something for himself as well. So you think that it's a Spaniard because they call him Lorenzo, but then you realize that his name is actually like Enzo or something, and that this guy is enemies of Isaac, right? I think Isaac's name is actually Izaku, but of course this doesn't work for Westerners, so he just goes by Isaac, and that worked for them. And there you go. It's very good. I really like it. The art style here is very amazing. It's very well done. It has a very kind of fancy, but very clean kind of style to it, and I like it a lot. I think it's very well done. There you go. And yeah, that was Isaac. Very good story. I really enjoyed it a lot. So yeah. Then let's look at the next thing I got, which was, or sorry, not that I got, that I read, which was Mary Grave. So I read Mary Grave 1 through 5. This is in Spanish. This is from Mexico. And Mary Grave is this kind of dark fantasy story. It deals with this guy. His name is Wiseman, Sawyer Wiseman. And he's trying to revive his wife. He's trying to find all of the ingredients necessary for this recipe, for this elixir of life called the Dead Man's Recipe. And he knows it works because his wife used it on him. And that's why he is a kind of reborn being. He's kind of like a vampire or a zombie, but neither of those things actually. And what he does is he goes on this expedition, this journey, and along the way he learns about the journey his wife took and how she went about it. And it's a very good story. However, it sadly was not popular in Japan and got canceled. But the mangaka managed to do a very good job at finishing it off while also leaving it open so that if he ever got the chance to, he could come back and finish the story without kind of having to deal with the ending. Because the ending of the last chapter or two are basically like, and then this happened, and then we finally got the result that we wanted, right? But you can easily remove those two chapters and then push the full story through and then put the chapters back in and have the like the final story makes sense overall, right? So I think Mary Grave is a wonderful story. Definitely a contender for top 10 of the year for sure. It's probably the best manga that I read this month. Definitely, like there's no comparison, honestly. It was very, very good. I loved it so much. It was one of my favorite things that I've read in the first 3 months of the year. So yeah, there you go. That's Mary Grave. Then I read Volume 3, sorry, of Hitomi-chan is Shy with Strangers. A very cute story, very cute series. Basically, this girl is shy, but she's also kind of scary looking, so people don't really approach her, which also makes her more shy. And she's so cute, very adorable, very enjoyable series. Definitely recommend this if you guys are fans of Komi-chan. Sorry, not Komi-san, not Komi-chan, or Tomo-chan or anything like that. So yeah, there you go. Then I read Mashle Volume 5. Love this series so much. It's One Punch Man meets Harry Potter, and it's loads of fun. It's very enjoyable. The art style starts out kind of dopey, and is kind of dopey overall. But then there's these moments where there's just like a crazy amount of super awesome artwork and crazy art scenes, and it's very, very good. Mashle is great. If you guys are fans of Harry Potter or One Punch Man, definitely check it out. Then I read I'm a Wolf, but My Boss is a Sheep, which is a office rom-com series, and it deals with this wolf man who likes this sheep woman, and they work together in a betting company, and it's very cute. It's very adorable, very enjoyable. There were a few scenes or a few kind of moments in the story where I didn't really understand what was being said, and I think that was because I wasn't paying attention to what was happening when I was reading, but it definitely felt a little bit off. Like, it wasn't necessarily that the translation was wrong. It just felt like the way it was edited made it a little bit difficult to understand what was happening. But that might have just been me. So, you know, I don't want to say anything too bad because overall I understood the story very well. It was just one or two times there was a page where I was just like, what the heck is going on? What are you saying here? But overall, very good. It's very cute. I really like it a lot. Then I read Volume 1, Uzaki-chan Wants to Hang Out, which is a very funny series. I really like it. I know a lot of people on Twitter went insane over it because she looks like a little girl or something. I don't know. I very much don't see it. I mean, she's clearly an adult. This is a college romance kind of series, and it deals with these two characters. One of them is Senpai. I can't remember his name, but he's like a very normal, sharp-eyed, quiet guy in all of these rom-com series. And of course, Uzaki is the very bubbly, outgoing character that wants to hang out with this grumpy senpai. And of course, they become friends, and then they kind of end up doing a lot of fun stuff. And of course, this also has a lot of ecchi, so if you don't like that, definitely don't read this, but it is very good. It's very enjoyable. I think it's a very relaxing read. So there you go. Uzaki-chan Wants to Hang Out is very funny. There you go. So yeah, then I read a bunch of stuff online. I read Noragami Volume 1, which I was okay with. Like, I thought it was meh. Overall, it was kind of middle of the road for me. And it's not necessarily that it was actually bad. It's that there's just so many, like, Bleach type series, and Noragami is definitely a Bleach type series, that I just don't really find myself interested in that many of them anymore. I mean, even Jujutsu Kaisen is one of these types of Bleach type series, and it's, I don't know. It's not that I don't like the yokai hunting thing, because I do. I love it so much. However, it's just, there's just too many series that are like this, man. You know, Bleach, Demon Slayer, Blue Exorcist, Black Torch, Jujutsu Kaisen, Noragami. That's like 10 series, man. That's a lot. That's very, very many things, right? And that's not even including the ones that have been canceled or are currently releasing, like Doran. What's the other one? Bone Collector. And what was the other one that was like that? The Red Hood one. Like, there's a bunch of them, man, and it's just too much, man. It's a lot. I just don't want to deal with any more Bleach type series. So I dropped Noragami for now. If I come back to it later, I probably will end up buying it physically instead of digitally. But for now, Noragami is really not on the table for me. Then I read Manga to the Library, Volume 1, which is awesome, lovely. I enjoyed the art so much in the series. It is so wonderful. Then I read Hell's Paradise Volume 1. I also really enjoyed the art here, and I think the story is really interesting. However, I think it's kind of like weird. Like, I'm not really sure where it's going to go, but I did like it. I thought that it was really interesting, and supposedly it's a psychological thriller. I didn't really get that from the first volume. It mostly just felt like a battle shonen plus an island adventure searching for a finding of youth type of thing. But I'm really interested to see where that, psychological thriller aspect comes in. Then I read Wanted, which is a short story collection by Eiichiro Oda. This collects 5 different short stories. It collects Wanted, which is the namesake, which is about this kind of sharpshooter guy who happens to live in this Wild West type country. And then this other one called Present, which is about this kind of slice of life thing where this pickpocket gets seen by God, and God kind of wants to punish him, but he accidentally punishes everyone else instead of him, and so he has to go and save the people that God accidentally punished. Then there's this other one called Ikitoru, I think is what it's called, and it's this kind of Bleach type thing where it's this monk that goes to this small town, and this small town is terrorized by this yokai, and he has to exorcise it. And then there's, of course, Monsters, which is the story of Ryuma, the samurai from Thriller Bark. And it kind of deals with this Japanese samurai type guy who's going through this Renaissance-esque city where there's these knights, and he has to fight a dragon, and he defeats the dragon because that's the story of Ryuma. And there you go. And then the last one is Romance Dawn. However, it's not any of the Romance Dawns that you're thinking of. It is the very original one, which has Garp as the person that gets turned into Shanks eventually, and it has this Nami type character called Anne. So it's actually kind of different from the Romance Dawn that you know, but it was pretty good. It was not amazing. It's a 3 out of 5. It was enjoyable, but it wasn't really like, oh my god, this is amazing. Especially not compared to One Piece, which has like 1,000 chapters to be good. These are only like 50 pages max. So, of course, there's never going to be anything amazing about them, right? So, yeah, then I read Devil's a Part-Timer Volume 3. I don't have it with me because I left it at home, but it was good. I enjoyed it. However, it's a very much like read one volume about it and then forget about it until you want to have another kind of cozy McDonald's selling adventure, right, with Mal. And that's it for that. Then I read Realist Hero Volume 1. Really good stuff. I really enjoy these country building kind of series very much, these kingdom building series. They're very, very enjoyable, very good. And this one was great. The one thing I want to complain about is the art style. I just don't think it's that good. It's not very enjoyable to look at compared to the story. And it could be better, but it also could be worse. So even though I complain about it, it's not really that big of a deal. This is a 5 out of 5 series for sure. The story is great. Really, really enjoyed it a lot. Then I read Eden 015. Very good stuff. I loved it. I enjoyed it so much. This volume introduces 2 new Gravity Ether Gear users, and it kind of ramps up this new section of the story. Shiki and the crew are going up against these interstellar bad guys, which is very, very cool, and I'm really excited to see how this goes. And of course, we get a lot of backstory and closure for what's her name? For Hermit. So there you go. Then I read Yu Yu Hakusho, and I read the last chapter of Volume 1, and then I read Volume 2 and Volume 3, and I really like it. I think Yu Yu Hakusho is really great. However, the first part of Yu Yu Hakusho, where it's Yusuke's ordeal, is pretty boring. It very much feels like slice of life, but dealing with spirits. It's like, oh, today Yusuke has to help this girl do this before she can pass on, and today he has to do this other thing before someone can pass on. And it's kind of boring, but once you get into the kind of spirit detective part of the story, it's very good, very enjoyable. The art style is beautiful, the action sequences are great, and the world building is actually really good as well. And it's very fun. I liked it a lot. I think overall, very enjoyable stuff here. And of course, these are the Mexican Kanzenban editions. That's why they look different from the usual American style that you're used to. But very good editions for sure, and very good story as well. So yeah. And then the more or less last thing that I read here was Saint Seiya, Volumes 3 and 4. This finishes up the Bronze Knights section of Sanctuary, and it starts the Silver Knights section, which is about halfway through the story. or the story of Sanctuary, the first part of Saint Seiya. The Saint Seiya is split into three major sagas: Sanctuary, then Poseidon, then Hades, and we're about halfway through Sanctuary here with the end of this volume here. So yeah, that's it for that. The last thing I read was JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 2, Battle Tendencies, and it was actually enjoyable. I really liked it a lot. Compared to the first one, Battle Tendencies is amazing. I would give it a 4 out of 5. I'll make a proper video on this next week. But overall, JoJo's Part 1 was bad because Dio was such a bad character. Like, there's nothing redeeming about Dio. It wasn't like the bad guys have to be redeeming, but they have to be good bad guys. And Dio is like the worst bad guy ever. Like, he wants power and he wants money, and JoJo's dad gives it to him immediately, just adopts him, and he becomes rich and powerful. But he decides that he doesn't want this, that this is not enough, and so he turns into a vampire. And then instead of actually becoming a vampire and terrorizing, England, London or something, and becoming powerful by having the queen under his thrall, he just goes and terrorizes this tiny town for no fucking reason. So it's kind of weird. And it's kind of lame. And, of course, it's good that JoJo beats him. But then JoJo dies. And so this one introduces a new JoJo character. And it's so much better. It introduces these ancient, superhumans called the Pillar Men. And there's 4 of them. And they're all great. I like them a lot. San Vanto is probably the most boring one. But Wamu is the best, man. I love that guy. And it's so good because, one, the Pillarmen make sense. Like, it doesn't make sense that there's these ancient, Neanderthal superhumans, but it makes sense that these people that have very big limitations, aka they can't go into the sun, want to create something that allows them to do so, which is the Stone Mask and the Redstone Aja. And so this bad guy situation makes sense. What doesn't necessarily make sense is why they're assholes about it, but that doesn't make too much of a difference because they're supposed to be bad guys. Then we introduce a bunch of good characters that are generally good people, and a weird Nazi guy that isn't a bad person necessarily, which is weird. And that works so much better than Part 1. Part 1 was just badly written, but Part 2 is great. I like it so much. I think Part 2 was wonderful, and hopefully Part 3 and onwards are also just as good. So let's actually talk about the last thing that I read that I didn't finish, which was Saga of Tanya the Evil. This is volume 2, and I only have 40 pages into the story. I started reading it last night, and I definitely want to keep reading it throughout this next month, but it is not going to be a priority because I have a bunch of other things that I want to read this month instead. So there you go. That's what I didn't get to read this month, or what I started but didn't finish. And then what I didn't get to read was Light of the Jedi, which was not a priority anyway, so it's fine that I didn't get around to this. And Shadow Rising, I don't know why. I always carry this with me everywhere I go, and I just never stop and read it because I'm a lazy fuck. And these books are huge, man. It's kind of a very daunting task. But yeah, other than that, I moved Barrage to the sci-fi month because I realized that it was about aliens and these people that live in this kind of weird space medieval setting, and so I thought that it was better for the May sci-fi month, so I'm going to move it over to May. And Perry Roden, same thing. I was going to read it this month and then pre-record the review, but I'm just going to wait till May so that I can kind of talk about it then. And other than that, that's basically it. So yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know what you thought. And thank you guys very much for watching. What have you guys been reading this month? Let me know down in the comments. And thank you guys once again. See you guys later.